Welcome to the Overrated Experience Sports and Sports Betting Podcast. We're coming at you live. Well, when you're going to hear it's not live, from the bullpen at Overrated Studios. And we have a Thursday night, a lot of basketball going on, a lot of hockey, a lot of sporting news. We haven't talked in a week, so we're going to backtrack a little bit before we can move forward. You can reach the Overrated Experience and follow what we think by Twitter, aka X, at Overrated EXPER2. That's Overrated EXPER2. Please follow, drop us a line, let us know you're following based on the podcast, and not just because of the pretty picture on there. So we hope to see you join the community. So welcome back for those who have joined the community, those who are loyal listeners. Appreciate your work, appreciate your commitment to listening to my voice on a weekly basis. And here we go. So Thursday night, what do we got going here? I got the Laker Golden State game on. Toronto Maple Leafs, local NHL team here in action in Vegas, up 4-0 at the end of the first period. Of course, I have the over in that game, so I need a few more goals. And also following the Boston Bruins Calgary Flame game, which is going to the third period. It's 2-1. It was 2-1 after the first period. And I'm going to tell you, again, I'm going to preach this. NHL is fun. I've grown up with the NHL. I like to bet the NHL for entertainment. But really, if you're looking at a consistency to really uncover trends, especially for over-unders and which teams are going to come out on top, I find it very, very hard and ridiculous. For example, Colorado-Detroit played earlier tonight. This game ended 2-1 in overtime. These are the top two scoring teams in the NHL. Just again, you think there's at least going to be, you can get the alternative total over 5.5. Did not come close. You look at this Calgary game, as I said, 3 goals after the first period, zip in the first period. And these are the trends that are going to happen. And I know that somehow I'm going to have to sweat this Leaf Vegas Golden Knight game, because it's 4-0. I need a few more goals. And what's going to happen is that if it's going to happen, it's going to come down to late in the third period. So just that's what's on my mind when it comes to the NHL. But other thoughts going on. Did you watch the NBA All-Star game that happened past Sunday? Did you watch the skills? Did you watch the three-point competition? Did you watch the dunk contest? I'll tell you right now, I did not watch the dunk contest or the three-point competition. And even going back to Friday, the celebrity game, I thought you had to be famous to be a celebrity. I could barely recognize, and this may be my age because most of them are online stars, but I could recognize nobody unless they played in the NFL, okay? I couldn't even tell you more than 4 players in each of the teams that are so-called celebrities. Brutal game. I don't know why anybody would watch this game. Skip the the three-point competition, though Damian Lillard won back-to-back, and what's his name? Same kid won back-to-back. The dunk contest, nothing impressive. Can you really do anything more in the NBA All-Star Game dunk contest than what's been done? Is there anything you can do that shocks you or surprises you or makes you go, I must watch what's going to happen this year in the competition? I think it's done. These guys are such superhuman as far as what they can do in games, much less, a dunk contest. I think we've seen it all for the most part. And even if we haven't seen it all, there's maybe 1 or maybe 2 dunks in that whole competition that are worth your time. I don't see you watching anything on YouTube for anything that came out in this year's dunk off or last year's dunk off that was like the years of Michael Jordan, Vince Carter, Dwight Howard, even D. Brown. Some of the past winners. A lot of boring, old way of looking at how to entertain. So the NBA's got to shake it up. 3-point competition. I don't think that gets old. I think that's a legit competition that can continue on. Now the game itself, they went away from the format last year where they went each quarter 1, 2, 3, and then the fourth quarter had a time limit and a score they were chasing. Kind of an interesting concept. But for whatever reason, they ditched that to a regular 4-quarter. I don't know what this was, because this game had zero pushback in any sort of way. I don't know if this sells. You know, the West losing big time, 211 to 186 to the East. Almost like, what is it? Almost 400 points scored in this game. The over-under was 355. At least I took the over on that. Sailed over, absolutely no problem. And I took a lot of props as well. Tough to know what to take as far as player points because, you know, I had, for example, Maxey, Philadelphia 76er star. This kid had 10 points after the first half, and I needed 2 more points for him to get over his point total, and he got nothing in the second half. So I don't know what his motivation was on the floor half that game. LeBron left. He was out after the first half and left pretty early after I think he played, the first quarter, that's it. And there was I didn't take this, but there was a popular boost that had Giannis and LeBron both scoring 20 points. Giannis sailed over, no problem. But LeBron was gone, and, you know, he's out tonight in the Golden State Warrior-Laker game. So there might be something that got triggered in that matchup. His ankle apparently is, bothering him. That's not a good sign for the Lakers. But tough to read. The NBA All-Star Game. And drop me a line on Twitter. Again, I could do without All-Star games. And NHL especially. NBA, I know that's not going to happen because it is considered a high-value honor to be selected to start and to perform in the NBA All-Star Game. I give credit to the players. But guys, it's getting brutal. That game sucked. It was terrible. And I think there's a lot of complaints, and I think you might see a revamp, at least going back to some sort of modification of the rules heading into next year's All-Star Game. So that was the NBA All-Star Game. It's really tough, like thinking, because remember, we're doing football. We were doing football for many months, and there was a weekend to look forward to. There was lines you could talk about on a Wednesday or Thursday, even a Tuesday. Or, you know what, if you really wanted to, you could probably have the Sunday evening have opening lines. When you get to a Thursday, once a week podcast, it's tough to provide NBA and NHL as those lines going into the weekend are not available because we're a couple days out. So I've got to figure out a way to maybe stick to news, but also maybe stick to trying to find a better day on this podcast. It's tough to find if you want to include the NBA and NHL at any point leading into the weekend of betting action. Now, speaking of betting action, get prepared. Get prepared. It's baseball season. Spring training kicked off today. The LA Dodgers blew out the San Diego Padres. So it's kicking off. More games tomorrow. Saturday, the local Blue Jays kick it off against the Phillies. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know how many of you out there bet spring training action. Obviously, for those who are just looking for action, which I know a lot of you are, that you cannot predict who is and who isn't out of the lineup. You really want to do your research if you want to get the edge. You know, a lot of teams have motivations to send guys in, especially pitching-wise, to, go a certain number of innings, maybe stretch it out a little bit. But you also have to watch a lot of these pitchers going in, especially the established guys not chasing jobs. They are working on pitches. So you may have a guy like, maybe Garrett Cole's working on a split finger fastball, or a circle change or something where he's going to throw that more than he would in a regular game. So beware. For entertainment purposes, though, have fun with it. But spring training is on. Fantasy baseball drafts are going to be happening. We're going to get Austin from Ajax out here. He's going to be our baseball guru. He's going to be our draft guru, as he likes the fantasy side of the baseball along with the betting. But speaking of baseball, some stories coming out of the major leagues include, do you know who Anthony Rendon is? Come on, if you're a baseball fan, you know who he is. Third baseman, Angels, LA Angels. World Series winner with the Washington Nationals, signed a huge contract with the Angels, $200+ million back in 2020. He's played only 200 games for the Angels, so basically this is a bust contract. The Angels are known for piss poor money management and ridiculous, stupid, ill-advised, kind of contract, aka Albert Pujols, way out of his prime. You sign him to a lengthy contract, dumb, and you lose Ohtani. You're doing nothing with Mike Trout. You've got nothing going on for you. So this just makes sense for this organization. Anthony Rendon, who has before talked about, hey, baseball should shorten their season, not showing much passion for the game, comes out and is quoted earlier this week stating, quote, "It's never been a top priority for me in regard to baseball. This is the job. I do this to make a living. My faith, my family come first before this job. So if those things come before it, I'm leaving." I mean, look, I've heard many people take this take. Of course, your family's number one. Imagine you're like the team owner walking by as you're providing this quote, or you're reading this as you're eating your Dunkin' Donut and 6-gallon coffee in the morning, and this guy's pissing all over, you paying this guy $200 million to verbally talk to the press, actually, and state that this is not a top priority for him, the game of baseball that you can pay $200 million for. Can you imagine the guy taking the quote? I'm wondering if he said, are you sure you want me to put this on the record? You're sure you know what you said, right? Priority, not a priority? Is that a priority or not a priority? Probably gave him like 3 or 4 outs. What a dummy. What a dummy. Like, how do you not read the fucking room to say it's not a top priority and then go into it's a priority for sure because it's my job? Because it's my job. That's what the fans want to hear, Anthony Rendon. That they're paying their money to come out to the ballpark, actually give a shit if the Angels contend, buy the jerseys, lifelong Angels fans, and you're making sure that those folks paying that money to go in that stadium after losing Shohei Ohtani, by the way, knowing that to you at third base there, it's just a job. Way to go, hero. Way to go. Way to inspire, the Angels to really pick up their socks and make something of the season. What a dummy. What a stupid comment. And I'm hoping he's been misquoted. I don't see where he was, but this is a joke. So enjoy the $200 million. You can't take these comments back, and you better tear this season up, which you're not. You'll probably play 52 games and go 203 lead the league in strikeouts in those 52 games. Terrible, disgusting, and not even a surprise from Anthony Rendon. NFL news going into the week, which was a couple items. Kirk Cousins doesn't look like he's getting the commitment from the Minnesota Vikings, which is interesting. Their past 2 contracts, they've really paid him well. Now, that was under previous management, but it looks like they're not going to maybe guarantee the amount of money that you would normally see a Kirk Cousins contract guarantee. Now, keep in mind, Kirk Cousins, he's a free agent. You're not going to guarantee money. What else are you going to do? What are you going to do with Justin Jefferson? Justin Jefferson's going to re-sign. You have no quarterback situation. You better rethink this. If you maybe you at least provide short-term guarantee. This is not like a baseball contract where you're locking some guy into 8 years. You lock Kirk Cousins into 2 to 3 years. What choice do you have? What choice do you have? If you want an NFL quarterback, he's not Patrick Mahomes, he's not Josh Allen, and he's not Joe Burrow, but he's just below that. And if you don't sign him, somebody else is going to back up the Brinks truck and sign this guy. All right? So, Minnesota, get your head out of your ass. Think about what you're doing and what you're saying. My God. What other NFL notes were going? Oh, it's just bullshit. I got a Robert Griffin, great quarterback. at least for a short term before injuries took over with the Washington, formerly known as Redskins, now the Commanders. His football career, Baylor, and on the field, he was an NFL quarterback, backup quarterback for the majority of his career. Nothing to shake your head at. Great. Gets an opportunity to commentate. But I can't help the things he tweets out, the things he says, and his takes he has are just so, how do you say it, wrong? He has a take about Russell Wilson, protecting Russell Wilson. Hey, I'm Robert Griffin. I played in the NFL. You don't know what I know. There's nothing wrong with taking a position because it's goddamn true. The Russell Wilson was, the key part of that was a star quarterback. He was a Super Bowl champion. He was an elite member of the Seattle Seahawks that was, top two reasons why, with the Legion of Boom, that this Seattle Seahawks won a Super Bowl and got to 2 Super Bowls. Probably should have won 2. But it's okay to say that he is not even close to what he was. He's not going to lead anybody to a Super Bowl. And I was thinking this. If you thought about where Russell Wilson would potentially wind up, what kind of impact would he make on most teams? I don't think if he's on Atlanta, he does shit. He does nothing, right? He maybe have a spark here and there, but I just do not think he can utilize those weapons like they need. And I think that's where Kirk Cousins would excel. The only team where I could see him making strides is maybe the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers have an ability to surround and kind of, they're a strong organization where, Russell Wilson, I think, could play average and the Steelers could be successful and maybe win a playoff game. But I can't see anybody scheming an offensive plan or a playbook to Russell Wilson's strengths outside of the Steelers. You're an idiot if you actually commit more than a one-off 1 year or very short term or maybe even 2 years but with a team option. I can't see why you would do that. But I heard, I was driving home from somewhere and somebody had mentioned, actually it was on VSiN. I also recommend that Follow the Money early morning show if you can't catch it live or you don't subscribe to VSiN. Their podcasts are great. You can download them anytime. But it was reminding me that Baker Mayfield is a free agent and maybe he doesn't return to Tampa Bay. If you're Atlanta, are you not jumping on that? If you're Denver, maybe you're jumping on that. Maybe somebody drafting one of the non-Caleb Williams quarterbacks takes a flyer at Baker Mayfield for a couple of years. You got weapons in Denver. What about Seattle? Is Geno Smith secure? But Baker Mayfield may be a sneaky free agent acquisition if he can prime away from going back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So interesting stuff there, but Robert Griffin, give it a rest, man. You just the takes are just irritating. Now, what else we got? Well, it's MLS time. So MLS is kicking off. Messi was on the pitch Wednesday, Inter Miami, taking on Real Salt Lake. Inter Miami won 2-0. Of course, I needed a third goal. Suarez got robbed late to put Miami up 3-0, which didn't happen. So, of course, I got screwed over. And but we got a lot of games going on the weekend. If you like MLS action, I got to play for you. I'll give you a little later, but it's a little too early to kind of find out what the trends are. But unlike you, maybe like you, I enjoy a good MLS matchup on a Saturday night. That tells you my social life. All right, so one thing to note though, the MLS season has started with replacement referees. So I don't know what impact that may have on betting. I guess I didn't even remember that in Wednesday's matchup when I was watching. And some of the calls were a little inconsistent, maybe one-sided, a little messy a focused attention on Inter Miami. You got to believe that MLS is probably steering things a little bit in the direction of making sure Inter Miami is successful to maximize the Messi card. Oh, other soccer, news. I think I brought this up. Did I bring up the blue cards before? That UEFA, or at least the English Football Federation, one of the federations in Europe, was considering adding a blue card. They already have yellow and red. You have 2 cautions in a game. Then you get a red, or you have multiple cautions, yellow, over a period of time and you get suspended, or 1 red, you get taken out of the game and also suspended. But there was also talk of having 2 blue cards, where you would actually be like hockey, where you're put in a penalty box, which may be the dumbest goddamn idea I've ever heard of. But I think I did talk about this, but it's been scrapped, at least for now, and I'm glad it has. It's the dumbest goddamn idea I've heard in a long time. All right, so PGA action, not really a big lineup. The Mexico Open, even though Brooks Koepka, he was asked about does he miss the PGA as he's on the LIV Tour, and he talked about sarcastically that he misses, as he was a child growing up, the hope to be on the Mexico Open, which he just played off. He's such a douchebag that you expect a guy making a couple $100 million to talk like he makes a couple $100 million. Douchebag. And if you did watch last weekend, UFC 298, which has a great fight card, but the big matchup at the end there, the main event, Alexander Volkanov got knocked out by Topuria. Ilya Topuria. I did take Topuria at plus 112, which had a nice payout for me. Alexander Volkanov, 2 straight losses, probably on the back end of his career. Watch out, because he'll probably want to fight very soon, and you might be able to get good value there. I think he's on his decline. So watch out there, UFC 298. On the road to UFC 299, but it has to get to 300, which Pereira was announced, added to the card, which he's a light heavyweight champion. So he'll be headlining UFC 300. Not necessarily the big matchup Dana White was promising, but if you're an MMA fan, it is a big matchup. So that's our mixed martial arts action from the UFC perspective. But interesting, I don't know if you knew this or not, is that the PFL, the Professional Fighters League, that has Jake Paul or Logan Paul associated as well. Jake Paul, I think. And also Francis Ngannou, former UFC champion turned boxer. You remember he fought Tyson Fury. They had purchased Bellator. And this weekend, the PFL card includes champion versus champion in the light heavyweight and heavyweight. And just announced was that the winner of the heavyweight battle between Ryan Bader and what's his name, as I'm unfamiliar with the PFL champion, Renan Ferreira, or Ronan, whatever, will face Francis Ngannou. Yeah, who knows? Because obviously MMA and boxing, a lot of things are set up and then change. Francis Ngannou has a boxing matchup against Anthony Joshua, in March. So there's a lot of things still to be figured out here, but I praise the PFL for the smart decision to look at their card. They probably should have done this weeks ago instead of, a day before their pay-per-view, that announcing that Ngannou would be next for whoever wins this fight. That puts a lot of interest now. A lot of people who did not know that this fight card was going on hear the name Francis Ngannou and then take interest in this fight to see who he might fight. So praise to them. Smart move. And what do you got? What do you got going on if this actually gets pulled off in March? You have you basically have a 3-way between the PFL champion, heavyweight champion, you have the Bellator heavyweight champion, and then the winner faces the reigning, because he never lost it, he had to drop it, UFC heavyweight champion, Francis Ngannou. Wouldn't you play that out as you're going to be watching the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world, because you have association with the 3 fight associations in this. Genius. Very good. And I've thrown this on the card. I know Ryan Bader is minus 120. Is minus, what is he? He's minus 106. And Ferreira's minus 120. But I'm going to take Bader on this one. He's 40 years old. Yes, he hasn't fought in a year. But he's a veteran. He's had more fights. I just see him using his wrestling. So I'll take that minus 106 and take Ryan Bader. Never even thought to bet on this until I started focusing on it based on the Francis Ngannou news that he's going to be fighting the winner. Smart move, PFL. You got my thumbs up. All right. What else we got? What else we talking about as I'm watching this Boston-Calgary game with over 6 minutes to go and I needed 2 more goals. God damn it. All right, so we have, what else we got? We got picks and we got soccer picks. We got English football, EPL to give you. I feel strong about this and I'm going to talk. My character here is, his name is, don't even know yet. I'll make it up next week, but here we go with my accent. So we have strong matchup with Manchester United, who's won 4 straight Premier League matchups, and they take on Fulham, who's not really one of the top dogs here in the EPL. Same game parlay. We got Manchester United to win, and then also the game to go over 2.5. I'm going to stop with the accents so you understand what I'm saying. So Manchester United to win, and this game to go over 2.5, and that's going to get you plus 103. Pick your wager wisely. And then we got Manchester City, Bournemouth. I expect a high-scoring affair here. So my same game parlay looks like this. Man City, who's been kind of limping a little bit, needs to start putting wins on the board. And I think they do it here. They get the win. They probably score 3 or 4 goals on Bournemouth, who likes to light it up a little bit. They like to run and gun. Wrong team to do it against. And throw in 8 corners. That's going to be plus 123. So Man City win over 2.5, over 7.5 corners, plus 125. And finally, for EPL action, I got Newcastle versus Arsenal. Arsenal just choked away a Champions League first leg in their final 16 or final 16 against Porto, which surprised me. So for plus 149 here for this same game parlay, I like this game to go over 2.5. EPL side, Arsenal's been putting up goals, same with Newcastle, despite the Champions League kind of letdown. The aim over 8.5, I see a lot of corners here, and yes, both teams will score. So that will get you plus 149. I feel very confident on that one. So take it to the bank. And MLS action I talked about. I'm just going to throw a flyer in here because we don't know much because the season hasn't started yet. Austin, Texas, at home to Minnesota. Austin, Texas, technically at home, tends to put on a show, put up some goals. I'm going to say a plus over 2.5, and I'm going to parlay that with the Charlotte FC in New York City over 1.5. So that's the 2.5 over in the Austin, Minnesota game, and then plus Charlotte, New York City over 2 or over 1.5 at plus 107. So there's your one MLS game or pick of the week. And what other news or notes do I have? I don't know. What else do you want to talk about? Why don't you drop a line on Twitter, aka X, at Overrated EXPER2, to give me something you want to hear and something you want to talk about. Because I'm going to give you my opinions, I'm going to give you my thoughts, and that's just the way it's going to be because it's my podcast. So to Anthony Rendon out there, just to quote him, it's never been a top priority for me. No, I'm not going to quote him like that. What an idiot. Anyway, pleasure's all been yours. Welcome back to the Overrated Experience Sports Betting Podcast. Also check us out on Instagram and Facebook at Overrated Experience. The Overrated Experience is over and out. Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.